The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. What is going on, my Go Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live, a very live special edition here on a Thursday. Man, I'm hearing a huge echo from you, Rob.
Not anymore, you're not.
No, I'm not anymore. So we are having a live special edition. We've got our good friend Rob Pincus. I would say with Avidity Arms, but you're with about 17 other different organizations and everything else. So we'll let you talk a little bit about all of them if you want. But I know that we're here today because for those of you out there are probably aware, this time about a year ago was maybe a little bit before, but about this time, it's been a little over a year that the long-awaited PD10 was released, and we've had a great fortune to work with it, and thank you for that as well. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have worked with it, but it's a gun that was in a long time in the making, and it was your own design of what you kind of wanted to be a self-defense pistol. And today there was some kind of groundbreaking and kind of exciting news. I'm going to let you have the floor for a little bit if you want to explain the PD10 and obviously what the big news today is.
Yeah. So, and I know we're doing a live, right? So I can't like pick one up and show anybody.
But I can share the screen. How about that?
Well, I don't even know because then who knows?
Okay.
What we're going to see. We don't.
Okay. All right.
but here's the thing. Yeah, I'm the founder of Avidity Arms. You know, Mike Sedini was with me there at the beginning. We've got a couple other partners now. About 2 years ago, we partnered up with a guy named Joe Worley, and Joe's dad started a manufacturing facility, a machine shop, and that machine shop is in Fletcher, North Carolina, and it's grown to be, you know, an incredible state-of-the-art facility that could do everything that we needed to have done that we just couldn't get done for years. I'm trying to coordinate, you know, a vendor over there and a vendor over there and get the parts together down in Florida and get them together. And it just really wasn't working without a lot of hand fitting. And because you can't sell a personal defense striker fired gun for the masses for $5,000 a piece, we couldn't do hand fitted guns. And we got to the point where by October of 22, we knew we could release the gun. I know you were one of the first people we sent a gun out to. I'm trying to remember. You may have been the first review that posted. We were right around. You were definitely one of the first.
I was the first. I don't know if I was the first one that got it, but I was the first video out. I remember you called and said, "Hey, can you get one done in 48 hours?" Yes, exactly. I
can. Because you've been following this for a long time, right? And you've been one of the guys who's been cheerleading, you know, the whole project all along. So, and you've shot some of the prototypes. So I wanted, you know, there's a handful of people that we really wanted to be around, you know, right there early, first in, right? And it's great to be able to, you know, be on a magazine cover, but it's kind of cooler in a lot of ways just to take somebody who's been like super supportive of the project and say, "Hey man, we finally did it. What do you think?" And then let you share your thoughts with everybody. So I do appreciate that. And that's sort of where we are again now today, a year later. You were one of the first people I wanted to talk with. And I think there are about 6 people I'll be talking to between now and Sunday in live or recorded and posted quick conversations about this. And I'm really glad you're the first again because it is exciting. And
we're honored, man. We're really honored to have you. And thanks for thinking of us. And when you called the other day and we're like, "Hey, we got this announcement coming," you know, and I was like, "That's awesome. Let's go. Let's roll with it." So I'm happy to have you on and great to allow you to have my platform for a minute.
I appreciate it, man. So the PD10, for anybody who's not familiar with it, you know, I'm not going to go into the long format. Go look at avidityarms.com, it's right there under my name, avidityarms.com. You know how the internet works. Go look at the website. You can get the whole backstory. Obviously, go back and look at what we had on the channel here with Armed Citizen Podcast last year, just about a year ago with your first live report. Yeah. And there's a lot of history there of the PD10. And basically, it comes down to I'm a career instructor, right? Like that's what I've been doing, right? Like running around Earth teaching people defensive
Literally.
shooting for the last 20 something years. And the things that I see, lots of hands on lots of guns, inform the design of the PD-10, and also the things I see, not just physically see, but like experience, and all the instructors under the USCCA program that I wrote, or the IC training company, combat focus shooting, all the instructors all over the world, again, who are teaching people. One of the things we see quite a lot is raise your hand at the class. Raise your hand if you carry a gun more than 4 or 5 days a week. Lots of hands go up. Keep your hand in the air if the gun and the holster you're using today in the class are the exact same gun and holster you usually carry. Lots of hands go down. Why? Well, I carry a Glock 43, but today I wanted to shoot my 34. Right? It's like I carry a 365, but today I wanted to shoot my 320 Legion.
And I'm also using it in a drop leg holster because that's what I do every day.
Right, exactly. So it's like, okay, I get it, because like a little 3-inch barreled thing isn't fun to shoot. Like a little half grip that your hand doesn't cover isn't easy to look good and cool with at the range at the class. So really wanted to fit as many hands as possible, wanted to meet like what I would consider minimal requirements, obviously for consistency in terms of like accuracy. The trigger pull has to be good. It has to be able to fit small hands, but not get lost in a big hand, all those kind of things, and obviously be reliable and be functional. But it also had this to split the difference between super carryable and super shootable. And that's what it is. So it's a mid-sized gun that gives you a full-size grip in a lot of ways. It's also incredibly thin, and that's how it balances those two things out. So it's probably thin like a 43 or 42 even, like super thin, but it's a mid-sized gun. So it's a lot thinner than a Glock 48. It's a lot thinner than a Hellcat, that kind of thing. And it holds 10+1. So it's built around, I think we can show a magazine, right? It's built around a metal single stack.
I don't care if you show the gun, Rob. If you got the gun, I don't care.
It's built around a single stack magazine, and it was designed for 9mm originally, obviously exclusively. And when I say exclusively, I've said that a lot. What I mean to say is it wasn't co-designed for 9 and 40 like most of the guns that we've seen in the last 30 years. We're really co-developed to be able to accommodate the 40 caliber Smith & Wesson round as much as the 9mm round. Well, the PD-10 is not that. So our slide is less than an inch. The frame is thinner than the slide in most places, less than an inch all around. The only thing
when I first got it was kind of incredible to me was the dimensions of it. And it's just like, wow, this is a lot of gun for not a lot of gun. That makes sense. Like, it feels a lot like it shouldn't feel,
It feels smaller than it is. It carries smaller than I think it is, because when you look at it from across the room, right, it's like kind of the same external dimensions, length and height of a Glock 19 maybe. But then you put it in your hands and it's like, wow, it's thinner than like my 48. So fast forward to, we get the gun launched last year. It's all we can do to really kind of keep up with now this obligation we've created to do it well, and to do it consistently, and to get the guns out, meet all the people that we're waiting for, meet those, reservations, so to speak, and then also meet the demand with our distributor. And we fought through a lot of things. And I will tell you right now, the guns that we are shipping today are almost immeasurably better than the guns we shipped out in February of last year or the end of January of last year. And it's not that those guns weren't functional. It's just they were like rougher versions, right? So the guns we're shooting today are way less finicky. They're way less sensitive to ammunition. They're way more accommodating to all, the full range of hollow points, not just kind of like the narrow range where we'd say, this is what we say you use. Right. And as always, if you're going to carry a gun, you got to go test it. I don't care whose brand name's on it, whose name's behind it. And at one point last year, when things were quiet and I had a quiet moment on the internet, I made a smart ass comment about 30 Super Carry. And how'd
that go for you?
I was a little slow that day. I was like, I wasn't doing anything. And I don't know, maybe compared it to 45 gap. I don't know. But what came from that, obviously, is I got Jim Golan, friend of mine, reached out. Incredible, just knowledge base of like wisdom around firearms and things gunny, obviously. And he's part of the team, the 30 Super Carry team. And I knew that. I'm not afraid to, poke at a friend. Trust me, I've been poked plenty about, the long-awaited PD-10 and the single stack gun and the era of stagger stack and everything else. So I can take it, I can dish it out. And he reaches out, he's like, "Come on, man, That's not fair. Have you even really looked at it? And I'm like, I looked at it. I read the press releases. I did. But have you spent any time with it? No. I think I shot it at some demo somewhere, like 5 rounds. Like,
it's kind of how I was.
You got to give it a real shot. So he was right. And he kind of called me out. And in fact, I have an article in the queue. It's going to drop at Personal Defense Network, which for those of you who don't know, I run Personal Defense Network also. It's going to drop this weekend, I think. And it basically, I call myself out on being called out. You know, my job, right, at Personal Defense Network is to keep people abreast of the latest things, the techniques, the gear, right? And a lot of times at Personal Defense Network, I'll come up with, somebody will send me something. I'll be like, look, I don't know what you're going to do with this, but this is what they say. And I don't know, I mean, I see where this is like quality and this I'm not sure about, but maybe you can get it all together and it'll work for you. So I'm not even necessarily endorsing things when I review them or I share the knowledge, right? It's part of my job as an educator and at Personal Defense Network. So shame on me for having been so kind of complacent and blasé about like, oh, another super round that we don't need.
Yeah.
And I failed there, right? So not only did I fail like the personal defense, my students, my personal mantra of like dare to know or respectful irreverence, like ask the questions, get the knowledge. But I also betrayed an opportunity for my new fledgling gun company to maybe consider doing something that a lot of people weren't doing. And in that process through the summer of really finding out what 30 Super Carry was all about in all its different little variations, doing the gel tests, having some prototype guns made up. In fact, this was the little Easter egg that was out there because I have no discipline, right? Was that I posted 2 gel test videos with 30 Super Carry at Personal Defense Network months ago using a prototype 30 Super Carry PD10. And it's like I was daring people like to call me out just because I could hardly wait to talk about it, even though I had agreed with like the whole federal.
But you wouldn't talk about it. Yes,
and we were going to wait until the 11th of January to talk about it. So it was like I put that out there. A couple friends were like, "What is that?" Like, but nobody called it out bogus. So anyway, that's been out there for months. And in shooting the gel demos and really doing the research and then feeling it in the gun, I was convinced that I had really blown it. Like as a human in this space, right? I should have paid more attention to this and I should have dug into it. And a million excuses, right? But a little busy with PD10 launch. But there we were with coming to a realization by the end of the summer that the engineering reach wasn't that high. And then it was like, well, why isn't anybody else doing this? I realized it's just this complacency. And we can say it was a down year or, any other reason. But the fact that really 2 years, and it's majorly, I think most people have known about this round for the better part of a year, maybe a little more than a year, but it's really been almost 2 years since it was initially like brought to the people. And yet the same 2 guns, well, High Point did come out with a carbine, but the same 2 handguns for as far as carry, if you would carry a $4,000 Nighthawk, right, 1911, there's that option, I guess. And then the Shield Plus from Smith & Wesson is really the only actual carry gun out there that has like holster support and is a modern gun and all that. And that doesn't make any sense to me. So I keep pushing down this road of like, let's just do it. Like the engineering team in North Carolina, everybody's all behind it. You don't have to change that many parts. The extractor, we had to change the way the extractor behaves with the slide. We didn't really have to even change the extractor. We changed its movement range a little bit.
But the dimensions themselves are going to stay about the same, correct, as the original PD10. For those of us that have handled it, it's not. The dimensions itself are primarily going to stay the same.
Everything's the same. I could send you a slide and barrel right now. You could use your same recoil spring, and the spare parts are the loaded chamber indicator. Because the round's more, the diameter is so much more narrow. The loaded chamber indicator, I can't really say it's a fair tactile loaded chamber indicator if we don't use a special one that comes up higher. And unfortunately,
I'll be all right with that.
Yeah, it comes up too high with the 9mm with that one.
Yeah,
it's like worse than an XD. It's like, wow, that's really up there. So it's excited to see me. It like blocks the sight picture, I think. So we have to have 2 loaded chamber indicators, and then the magazine follower is changing to get us to 12 rounds. We can actually use our standard magazine and shoot 11 rounds at 11+1 instead of 10+1. So if somebody has a 9mm and they're like, I'm curious about 30 Super Carry for relatively low investment, you get a barrel and another slide from us, and you could even just use the magazines you've got to see if you like it, and then maybe go to 12 rounds. So that's where we get to the point of, yes, we're going to do this. And the email I sent when we committed that we internally was about the same time frame. It was like September, maybe it was a little ahead, I guess, of last year's commitment to do something at SHOT. It was probably in September. The team in North Carolina, I've got an incredible team there, and we all sat on a table and said, yeah, we can do this. We can have it deliverable Q1. We can sell this at SHOT Show. I literally, the email that I sent to the federal team, because I hadn't talked to them, they gave me the engineering data I needed, and they'd sent a bunch of ammo, but I hadn't talked to them in a minute. And I said, hey guys, we're ready if you're ready. But we were getting ready for NASGW, the wholesaler show. And I said, we can talk about it at wholesaler show. I said, but honestly, if you just want to tell me like, oh, sorry, Glock and SIG and 7 other companies that have been around forever, Beretta and Walther, they're all doing 350, or they're all doing 30 Super Carry at SHOT this year. And you just want to pat me on the head with my little company and say, thanks, little guy. I get it, right? Because I still can't believe that we're here less than 2 weeks from SHOT, and there apparently is not another gun chambered in 30 Super Carry being brought to the market. And when you look at the round,
I'm thinking myself is I've shot it kind of like you had before at a range day, got my 5 or 6 rounds in a magazine to kind of test it out and all of that. But I have friends that have shot it kind of a lot more than I have and really enjoy it. Is it because of the weirdness of this year, or why, in your opinion, why hasn't the Super Carry kind of taken off?
Well, I really think it's complacency. I think it's so close, one of the things I say in some of the articles that are out there right now and the press release stuff is like, I realized I was doing exactly the thing to the 30 Super Carry that people are doing to the PD10. It's like, nobody asked you for that. Like, that's not what we're looking for. It's not like, why would you bring another, it's like the number of people, why would you bring another striker fired 9mm to the polymer frame to the market? I'm like, you realize that like 15 new successful AR companies have launched in the last 4 minutes while we were talking, right?
Exactly.
Like maybe they should have just stopped after Armalite started making that one, I guess, right?
I would say so.
Look at Shadow Systems, right? Shadow Systems is making a better Glock than Glock. Like they're making the best Glock for the money that's ever been on the market and being incredibly successful, right? So trying to launch something new is a different kind of challenge, right? So I get it. There's challenges in doing a better or slightly different version of something that's ubiquitous. Those are challenges too. But man, you look around and it seems like it's real easy to sell a double stack 1911 9mm all of a sudden, right? For thousands of dollars. So I actually felt like, all right, I want to do this. It makes sense. They wanted to do it, which I took as a great compliment. Some of those guys over there had PD10s. They knew what the guns were. Certainly we sent more samples. Like, this is what you're getting into. And we're a small company, but if you really want to back this play, obviously we'd love to be not only like letting people have the option in this round, but we'd love to be affiliated with Federal and CCI, Spear, Remington Ammo. I mean, just when you look at, like all the names on these boxes, right? Gold Dot, HST, like these American Eagle, like these are huge staples in the American firearms world. And now like we're sitting on their websites with the Avidity Arms PD10 and the logo, and that's cool. But why are we there? I think the reason we're there is because everybody involved, once we started looking at it, there was this real synergy, a pistol that was sort of all the compromises you have to make a no compromises carry gun, right? In terms of like balancing out those size and shape and all those things, and capacity versus carryability and shootability versus concealability. And they've done the same thing with a round that nobody was asking for, right? They said, okay, we get it. Like, this is close to other things that have existed, and it's not a 380 by any stretch, and it's better than a 9mm sometimes, but not all the time, and not really dramatically. So why did we do it? Kind of like because we could, and because once we realized
innovation,
innovation,
if nothing else.
So I still, and I've said that, like, I don't think everybody should turn in their 9mm, right? Like, I don't think that's what's going to happen by any stretch, but I don't think the round's going to die. Obviously, I don't think the round should die. Maybe more importantly, right? So like, if Federal says, you know what, we really thought that, Rob, once you did it, everybody'd be on board. And like, sorry guys, and they just say, we're not making anymore in 2 years from now, whatever. I'm not going to think this was a waste of time. It was an important engineering challenge for a new company, for a new team to do something and slightly change what we were doing. but change it enough that it's really different.
Yeah.
And to prove that we could do it, and to find out sort of like in some ways how easy it was, that we didn't have to change all the springs, that we didn't have to change the weight of the slide. We didn't have to do anything really dramatic, but going through those motions was still like an important exercise for us. And to do it not for a novelty, but for a round that really delivers. That
Yeah,
really
I mean, I think
well.
In essence, humans are explorers by nature. That's what we do. We explore the next thing. And if you just wait for the next thing to happen, the next thing's never going to happen. We need people to explore, right? We need people to find the West. We need people to find we need people to find the 223. We need people to find 10 millimeter, the 9 millimeter. We need people to find all these things, because it's not something that is just going to show up and say, well, this should have been here all along. And it might take a while. It might take a while for it to hang on, but eventually, if enough people like you are willing to take the chance with their manufacturing company and say, let's dive in, let's put our weight behind this caliber also, because we think it's a viable caliber. The more guns that are out there, you're almost creating that demand. You're creating that demand for the supply.
It's a real chicken and egg thing, right? Like,
right.
I worked on the FK Brno project, right? For the polymer version, the PSD, and that's that round, that cartridge exists, the 7.5 FK, because there wasn't another round out there that would fit into the pistol, because the original deal was, let's build a pistol that will shoot something 100 meters and have the terminal ballistics of that match an AK-47 at 100 meters, and that we think a well-trained, military or protective services personnel could use to hit a man-sized target at 100 meters. And that's where the original field pistol came out. But as they started playing around with existing rounds and even some oddball, like Wildcat type cartridges, there really just wasn't anything there. So they became an ammunition company so that they could build the gun they wanted to build. And then then it's like, well, do we want other people building guns for this ammo? Absolutely. Because if other people are building guns for the ammo, then at least we're selling ammo. And if the ammo is out there at a cheaper level, then maybe more people will be interested in our gun. And so there's this chicken and egg thing, and it really is. It's not a horse and cart. It's definitely like, we don't know which came first, right? The chicken or the egg. You've got.
But the beautiful thing is, both of them are here, so it really doesn't matter at this point, right?
Well, at this point, it doesn't. Now it's about just working together, and that's really what we're trying to do. And Riley Bowman over at concealcarry.com, he found out about this literally. I think he's out here in Colorado time with me still.
He is, he is.
Yeah, and he found out about this at about 3 a.m. And I was just chatting with, I was up finishing some.
Yeah, because I get a text at like 1 o'clock in the morning, which obviously you are not up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't think it was because if you're in Colorado, then you're at least an hour behind me. So.
Well, yeah, I was up past 1 because we were chatting, we were texting, we were Facebook messaging.
Okay.
And he's like, what's going on? And I think he commented on something or liked something. I was like, hey, you up? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry I haven't told you about this sooner. Well, I'm sending him some stuff. I'm sending him some links. I'm sending him like, this page isn't public yet. I'm putting it in the menu in a couple hours, but here it is. I'm talking to him, and he's like, well, I just said that in the article I'm writing. And I'm like, oh, what's it about? It's about the 30 Super Carry PD10. Like I could hear his like eye roll in the chat. So he fired out. He's like, it's going live at 5 a.m. And I had to ask him, wait, 5 a.m. Colorado time or Avidity time, East Coast time? And he's like, Colorado time. I'm good, because we weren't even making everything live on our pages until 6 a.m.
Right. Yeah.
East Coast time. Yeah. So there's 6 o'clock in the morning, Colorado time. So it's like we had it. So literally, here's a guy, he got so excited about it. And that's really what his article is about, is that chicken and egg problem, because he's a fan of the 30 Super Carry. I don't know if I call him a fan of the PD10, but I mean, I think he respects it for what it is. He's certainly been familiar with it and all that. He very positive comments about it. And even in the article, he says, I want to see it succeed. I want to see the 30 Super Carry succeed. Both of them have a challenge. And I think the way he really looks at it, the 30 Super Carry has the bigger challenge, right? Because if there aren't guns to shoot it, it's just not going to work. So
yeah, and once again, we're talking about not necessarily causing the demand, but at least causing the chatter about it, which could in turn cause the demand. If there's only 2 guns out there and one of them's a $4,000 Nighthawk, let's just say the only gun that's reasonably out there for the average person is the Shield Plus. Great gun. Great. Love it. Love the Shield. That said, one gun isn't going to create enough demand or enough chatter for a cartridge. That said, is 2 guns? I don't know. But if 2 guns could lead to 3, 4, 5, 6, now we're talking some chatter,
I think that's it. And it's funny. I've gotten a bunch of emails today through the office email, like not to me personally, but just like to the info or to the sales.
Yeah.
And, Federal blasted out a great article kind of explaining from their perspective why the dynamic duo was the title of that article. Nice. And people were responding. A lot of these responses that we were getting were from that email blast that went out. Mm-hmm. And what I was seeing was mid-priced or fairly priced or affordable were a lot of the words they used, full size pistol in the 30 Super Carry. And it's like, I get it, right? Because people, even though the Shield Plus is the bigger generation of a small gun, and I really wouldn't consider the PD10 full size, right? I say it's like a mid-size gun with a kind of full-size feel to the grip a little bit, just so we know that big hands will fit on it. But you know what? If that brings whatever was going to get people to look at it, right? And then it's like, well, here's the, make sure they see the specs and tell them where there's a shop near them or something, but give them instructions on how to get their hands on one, or maybe they'll end up just buying one because now they finally have another option. Maybe there's like 30 Super Carry fans. At the end of the day, I said in my video that went out this morning, I don't think we're going to make like if I were going to put a number on it, maybe it's 10%. Maybe 10% of our PD10s this year will end up being 30 Super Carry. If I'm wrong and it's 50%, I think that's really cool. Then now I'm like, oh, wow, we really did something that apparently people really wanted and they knew they wanted. They just couldn't find it, right? Because the PD10 has been a year of, I wasn't really looking for that, but it feels good. Oh, it shoots good. Yeah, maybe next time I'm buying a striker gun, I'll think about it. It seems to me like people have been, at least today, it looks like people have been looking for another option in 30 Super Carry, and I'm happy we gave them one. And it's not a compromise. It's actually maybe even more than just doing the Me Too round, which is 9mm. It's the round we've all just become complacent with. This round was designed for defense, and that's literally our tagline at AVIDITY.
Well, you've got a cartridge that's designed for defense. You've got a handgun literally designed for self-defense. It's a good marriage. I got a couple questions for you. I know that you've got 7,000 different things going on, but I want to keep you on as long as I can. For those of us have been blessed to have at least handled the PD10 and all of that, thank you for that. There's a lot of people in the media that might be interested to handle it. Range day, I know AVIDITY itself isn't probably going to be out there, but will you, with an AVIDITY, maybe even in the Super Carry, be at range day so people can stop by if they're going to be there?
Right now, there's no formal opportunity for me to say, yes, meet us here.
You may pop up, yeah.
Yeah, AVIDITY doesn't have a range. Federal doesn't have a range. We do have one specific collaboration that has some range space that may come to fruition. And if it does, great. But it's nothing we're formally planning. Media, now we do send a lot of guns out. I haven't said no to anybody. We had to have some people wait.
You sent one to me, so you'll literally send it to anybody. So
well, I asked you. So I think we're doing
you're very nice for that.
Another 5 or 6 of these guns are earmarked for right after shot, because of course there's going to be one at the Federal 30.
I was going to say, I'm assuming you'll be at the Federal booth, correct?
Yeah, there'll be one there, and I'll be there some of the time. We're all over SHOT Show, really. We're going to be with G-Code holsters. Our long slide will actually be the 5-inch model. Will be there.
Oh, nice.
We're going to be with Gideon optics, with Lucid optics, with Viridian light and laser, and they also have their optic there. We're with TAC Rig holsters, where we were with them last year. Also, we're going to be with them. And I don't want to go off on the tangent, but we're going to have another chat, maybe just after SHOT or at some point, for the AVIDITY semi-automatic rifle, the ASAR. And that's a collaboration with Nemo. So people will be able to see that at Nemo. And
all right, I'm sold.
Super excited about it because it's really, it's a very different magwell. It's obviously an AR type lower, but it's a very different magwell than people are used to. And I really believe it brings some innovation and increased efficiency to reloads and potential malfunction clearing while not interfere. If you just want to use whatever technique you've been using since 1972, just use your technique. But there's some potential advantages. We've teased that, and in fact, that's up on the website also now. People can see that there. But we'll talk about that some other time. Today,
I'm not trying to spend your money, real quick. I'm not trying to spend your money. I'm not trying to put ideas into your head, but I'm going to. The PCC world is blown up.
I know.
PCC and a 30 super carry. Has anyone thought of this yet?
Well,
that could be interesting. Okay. I forgot the Hype One did put a card. I forgot Hype One did, but mass loads of them. That could help. Because I think a lot of people, the PCC world is just blown up as well. That could be an interesting marketing thing. Right?
I think those make great options for people for home defense.
Absolutely.
Trust me, I had a lot of people so Alpha Tech that we partnered with, they've been making AR lowers on a small scale for a couple of different local manufacturers for some time. So as soon as we partnered up, they're like, well, we can do an AR for you too. And I was like, I'm not going to be like another AR guy. Like we got this handgun to do. Maybe eventually we'll get around to it. And it kept coming up. Because it's kind of like revenue. They see it as like, we could just do this. And in an election year, why wouldn't we want to have all the ARs we could on a warehouse shelf, right?
That's a fair point.
I get it, but I don't want to just do this another AR thing. So I said, okay, well, here's something I've done like with Dremels before and with some Magwell, some experimental. Can we do this? Oh, we can do that. Well, then if we're gonna do that, can we also do that? Can we do this? And then we did.
And once again, now you've made it your own again. Yeah.
And we've sent it off and to a lot of people. Remember the AR guys, like deep level AR guys. Never seen that before. Cool. And then it was a couple, like not even a couple phone calls. Honestly, it was like a text message, and it was settled. Nemo has expanded their manufacturing capacity so much that they're going to be doing more components and more sales of parts, whereas it was all they could do to like keep up with the rifle demand through Nemo a few years ago. Now they've got this incredible new facility, just dwarfs what we have. I mean, it's an amazing facility, and they now have enough production capacity to sell components, including like uppers or bolt carrier groups, whatever. And they have a new slim line. That's really where this started. They have a new slim handguard. Their handguard was cool for me on like an 8-inch because I could put a suppressor inside the handguard on the 8-inch with like a 10 or 12-inch handguard, but it was big. And a lot of people in the era of super slim, thin, no rails if you don't need them, M-lock, just really in the middle of the hand kind of handguards. Their handguard was always, when I take it to demos and stuff, because they've been a tour sponsor for a couple of years, people were like, oh, that's kind of, then they shoot it and like, oh, it feels fine. Yeah. Now they've got a slim one, and it's the slim Battle Light upper that's going to be the upper on the Avidity Arms semi-automatic rifle. We're using Mission First Tactical stock, which I love. Mission First Tactical, the EXD, the heavy duty mags. And we're using the grip from Black Collar Arms, which I actually have one right here, the Priapus grip, which actually the contour, you can't really see it in this package, but go to the website, you'll see it. The contours of it, when you put it up on a wall, it like matches the exact contour of that minimalist stock from Mission First. So it looks cool.
Oh, nice.
We actually did the aesthetics, all of the kind of the style cuts on our lower to match the Nemo upper specifically. Like, told you, obviously I said, hey, you aren't going to feel like we're ripping you off, dude. Please, now you have to buy our uppers.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a fun thing, but that's to me that's a fun side project.
Yeah.
Taking the Avidity Arms PD10 to a higher level of potential defense. You said you had a couple questions. If you have more, send them, because it's probably one more thing I want to address.
We'll have you on after shot, and we can go through all of it and take as much time as you want. The other questions I had were you answered already. You are going to at least have a model in the federal booth so any of the media people that are going to be at shot that want to see this model of the PD10 in general, especially maybe the super carry model, there will be at least a model at the federal booth, so go check that out as well. And Ron, I'm sure, like you said, you'll be in and out. You're all over the place. You're one of the busiest guys out there, but you will be there eventually. Every now and then, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll post it. I'm going to post, like I say, like an appearance schedule, but I'll like put when when I'm going to be at G Code, when I'm going to be with Lucid, when I'm going to be with Nemo, when I'm going to be at Federal. Like there'll be a schedule. And then obviously there's meetings all over the place and everything we're doing with Personal Defense Network and our tour sponsors there. I'll be all over the place, but there will be fixed times. And obviously anybody, if you are media or, you know, if you're a buyer, I mean, like we're in the business, like to sell guns. So if you want to meet with us, reach out to me through all the social media, rob@avidityarms.com. We have dealer inquiry forms and media inquiry forms at avidityarms.com. So, you know, if you want to, you can find me. And then I did get my phone back. That was nice.
Oh, nice. Fantastic.
Yeah. Up from the repair place. That was nice. Yeah. So I do once again have the capability of receiving text. Who knows what's on there.
Back right to the world, as you will.
Back to the world. So it's, but the other thing I want to address, and I'm kind of glad it didn't come up already in the comments. You know, one of the more frequent shots people take at the PD10 is, well, it's only 10+1. And I can get a XYZ subcompact micro gun.
How many shots do you need, guys?
30,
Let's
40,
be honest.
50. And it's like, my first thing is like, look, I don't know if you know me, I'm old. I've been around for a minute. I was the guy like 10, 12 years ago who was cutting down Glock 19s to do the Glock 26Ls, turning a gun that held 16 rounds into a 10+1.
Before the 26 was a thing. Yeah.
So that the grip was shorter, and for a scrawny guy, like, it was easier for me to conceal, but I wanted that that longer 4.5-inch barrel. So I'm pretty well on record for 10+1 is fine. This is not something that's convenient because these are cheap magazines, or it's not something that's convenient because I want to sell in magazine capacity limitation states. It's like, this has been like Rob's position as Personal Defense.
Well, it's been a PD10 for as long as I've known you, and that's been a while.
And like it's net to 11 rounds is plenty. So now right away, boom. Maybe not the first comment, but like maybe the third comment I saw this morning under one of the announcements was, oh, so now I guess capacity does matter. And I'll tell you, one of the things I said to Federal early on when we start doing the marketing here, I just want to be really clear. Like you're never going to hear me like claiming the reason people should do this or thinking that even like a top 3 thing about this is the extra couple of rounds.
It's a nice thing.
It's a nice bonus, right?
But
it's a nice bonus.
It was.
And don't get me wrong, like if I'm carrying around a 30 Super Carry PD10, it's going to have 12+1. It's not going to be like 10+1 on some weird principle. The principle is you don't compromise the size or the grip or the shootability, carryability, concealability to put a couple extra rounds out. I think once you hit, like, if somebody said 8, if somebody said 9, if somebody said 10, I'd be with you. So once you hit,
I think 8's the perfect. I think 8's the number for me.
Once you hit that,
I'm
done talking to you about capacity for a personal defense event. And I've said this a million times. If you're in the comments, hit me up if you can show me the empirical example where a person needed, not shot, but needed more than 11 rounds in a personal defense situation. I want to see it, because I've been looking at this stuff for a long time and I just don't see that, to the point where, okay, if somebody finds one, it's going to be a gross anomaly. Now, I'm not saying don't train for a worst case scenario, but what I am saying is don't look at me seriously and try to convince me that I need to have 15 rounds on my body in order to be reasonably like responsible as an armed person. So no.
If you feel like you need more, you know what? Carry an extra mag.
Well, that's it. It's like, and magazine, we all know, like, failures can be induced by ammo and magazine.
True.
Like that can happen too, right? Like I think there's probably more chance with the average person out there with a carry gun, they're going to have a problem with the gun, the ammo, or the magazine. They're going to need to shoot one or more people to the point where they have to reload past 11. So having an extra magazine, like 2 magazines of 10, is probably a smarter and more resilient setup than 1 magazine with 20 rounds stuck in the
carrying gun. A bigger gun that's going to allow, So
once again, all that to say, I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. And if somebody says I wasn't going to buy a PD10, but if I can have 12+1, now I will. I'm not going to tell them they're not allowed to. No. Fine. Okay. But that's not the lead. And it's funny because Federal actually said, honestly, because one of the web pages I was using, we were on a Zoom call. I was like, one of these web pages, it's kind of like the first 4 things you say about it is it increases capacity. They're like, yeah, That's what the market's been excited about, honestly. And
But
so
that's what, but that's a marketing thing. That's not just with your gun. That's with any
that's
gun.
with every gun. No, that's
yeah.
it. But that's not the only reason, because
Right.
honestly, that's probably part of why I didn't get super excited about the gun or the ammunition for my gun or for any gun last year, because it's like, if that's your best argument is you can have 2 more rounds, I'm not like I'm already like up to here on talking about capacity. I'm not going to get excited about 2 more rounds. So that, I don't know. Then when you really look into the ballistics, when you look into the terminal performance, when you look into a lot of things, just the diameter of the bullet also you can see it will enhance reliability. If you can have a wider mouth of the chamber going into the chamber relative to the size of the bullet, because we start obviously with the same barrel, right? Dimensions. So we actually have it's like a more forgiving entryway into the barrel now. So there's reliability issues that come up. There's, if you talk to like Jim Gilliland and those guys, when we have 5-inch, apparently we're going to be able to shoot like 1-inch groups at 7 million yards or whatever, because the ballistic coefficient on this round is better. Like, there's a lot of things about the bullet that are cool. There's a lot of things about the cartridge that are cool. And the fact that it has this powerhouse behind it, like the whole Federal and extended family of Federal,
it does help.
Bullets like the Punch, HST, Spear Gold Dot, like, and then you've got the Blazer for inexpensive training ammo, practice ammo, American Eagle on the other end. And by the way, they did decide in Q3 of last year, I don't know when it hit, but I found out in Q3 that the plan moving forward into 2024, originally, like if you go back a year ago, the hollow point rounds were comparably priced to 9mm hollow point rounds at any given brand. The practice rounds were comparably priced to 380, which is more expensive than 9mm.
Which is more expensive than 9 in general. Yeah.
And
that's
so
odd.
now they've dropped that. So now the case price on these is the same as training ammo in 9mm. So they realize that they can't make that argument that, well, people pay this much for 380. Why won't they pay it for 30? And it's like, well, how about because they've had guns in 380 for 180 years? I don't know, something like that, approximately 180 years. So so they did say, they're going to do, so that's cool. The other thing, if somebody's got a range, like we have a range program, right? You're a range retail facility. You were kind of, maybe you're going to put a PD-10 in there, but I don't know. Well, here's a cool thing we're able to do. Anybody who in Q1 reaches out to Avidity and gets on our dealer program and chooses to take on a PD-10 in 30 Super Carry is going to get a little gift to get them started with 30 Super Carry ammo on their range. So if you have a range and you think people might come in and say, well, I'm not paying for the 30 Super Carry, or I'm not going to try this new round, or people have come in and asked you and you haven't had a gun or ammo for them, hit us with your dealer inquiries, because we can fix that. I think it's a really
that
cool
was going to be a question that I was going to bring up is, are you going to be able at this point to start taking calls or emails about ordering the 30? Is a 30 Super Carry, when is that going to be maybe available for dealers to maybe sign up for?
We're shipping in February. So we're taking orders, we're planning on taking orders at SHOT. I've already had this morning some of our existing, and actually couple of days ago when we started talking about this to some of the insiders, we have a couple of our ranges that have been doing really well with PR. Our retailers have been doing well with PD-10s, already say, get me in the first batch. So those will be shipping in February. Awesome. So they can be ordered now. If you have a relationship with us already, cool, just send us an email or go through. If you've been going through Davidson's, you might reach out and let them know that you're interested, that they've been our major distributor in 2023. But moving forward, absolutely. We're also working with JKS Unlimited now. I think this is the first time I'm saying that publicly, because that's just official this week. So JKS is going to be representing us in 18 states, all through the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic and up through the Northeast. So that's kind of cool. I have a big call with their sales team tomorrow. So you're going to start seeing more and more PD-10s out there. And if you're interested in 30 Super Carry, we've got something for you. And if you're interested in the PD-10 and maybe you were worried about that 10-round capacity, okay, take a good look at 30 Super Carry, but also go look at personaldefensenetwork.com. And I think you'll see a long track record of understanding why I think 10+1 is plenty. Yeah.
I've put out there in the chat several times the link to Avidity Arms, avidityarms.com. I've put the link out to Personal Defense Network. It's out there.
Awesome.
Put the email if you need to, guys. It's rob@avidityarms.com. Please flood his email and tell him how handsome he is. And he loves hearing all this. He loves hearing how there's not a single gray hair on his head. Oh, and his beard. I mean, in his beard, not his head. Because
yes, and the flowing locks.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
beautiful.
It's weird. I'm sure now that I have my phone back, I'm going to find the closest I've seen to the negative comment is just kind of the smart ass question about the capacity matters now.
Sure.
And that guy probably, means it in jest and good naturedly. But I did tell, Jordan Vinrow owns JSD and Gideon.
Yeah.
We have this 5-year-long text string with another one of our buddies, Matt, over 2A3D laser. And we, just randomly send each other dumb things during the day. But quite often we'll send each other things related to one or other of our businesses that we see other people saying something ridiculous or whatever, or asking a question that's been answered a million times. And I did tease them with this one. I because they didn't know about this until last week. And I said, yeah, the memes on this one, I mean, the potential here is just the potential for the memes on the new gun company that's making a gun that nobody asked for, and the established powerhouse ammunition company that's making ammo nobody wanted. I just hope the meme masters really put some effort into this and reward us this weekend with good laughs.
The ideas are free flowing. It can go so many different directions, and we want to see all of the directions at this point, because there's no such thing as bad media at this point, right?
Bring it.
You've heard it all. You've seen it all. You've had every question possibly under the sun asked for you. I'm really happy for you, Rob. I'm really happy that things are starting to kick off. This past year, industry wide, has been an interesting one to say the least. I can't wait for next week. Is my favorite week. I know shots. Some people like I enjoy it more because of the vibe, and I can't wait to see what the vibe is this next week. And obviously we'll have you back on right after shot to talk about other things. But real quick, like I said, I put all the links out there and all that. AVIDITYARMS.com, personaldefensenetwork.com. Rob at AVIDITYARMS.com is his email. Anything closing? I know that you said you need to get out of here, but anything closing, anything else we need to touch on? We've got as much time as you want, bro.
I know. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the audience's time. The big thing to me is do ask the question. If there's a question you have, or even an observation, I'm in. I've been engaging in conversation about firearms electronically since 300 baud dial-up modems in the 80s, right? So I'm not going anywhere, no matter how mean the memes can be. We'll be here, and we'll and I really feel good about 2024 for the PD10, for Avidity Arms, and for the industry. Like you said, I mean, I know the last report, the wholesalers report I got, not for us, industry-wide report from NASGW was 23% down year to year in Q3, and Q4 did start to come up. So people were happy with that. I don't think we got that past last year, but I do think, it's a little cynical and a little, crystal ballish, I guess, to say it's an election year, so things are going to be better. I don't know if that cycle is healthy or functional or whatever, but it's a reality. I'm hoping that what we actually see is long before the election gets to wherever it's going to get in the fall, that right now, Q1 and Q2, we see people looking at firearms like I feel like we used to, right? Which isn't like I have to buy it before they're going to take it away, or I want to buy this thing because everybody else has it and it's trendy. But really, this is a hobby for a lot of people, right? Like a lot of us come to this originally because we like guns. If I only needed a defensive gun, I'd have 5 guns, right? If that's all I wanted, and I could hunt with them too, right? That's it. But I have a lot of guns because I'm a gun collector. Who needs
5 guns? Who needs 5 guns, right?
Well, you get 22 and a shotgun and a bolt gun and an AR and a handgun. I've been
told all you got to do is have a shotgun and shoot people in the leg. I've heard that works. I don't know.
In the air.
Real quick, Duncan's out there.
Says, down for audio?
No. How about them apples?
All the bad guys just left the chat.
They just peed themselves, Duncan's out there, says great to see it for sale in Massachusetts. New York,
that's been a big deal. Massachusetts, it's weird. There's a mechanism for selling frames, and then obviously you can acquire the slides and the barrels. And because we sell parts kits to people that 3D print guns, we sell the slides, barrels, and all the internals through JSD. they're out there, right? Anybody can go buy one of those slides and barrels. And Massachusetts, there was a lot of gray area here, right?
Yeah.
And some dealers were into it and some weren't. And then about 18 months ago, the state of Massachusetts acknowledged that what some people would call the frame game is actually not illegal in any way under current Massachusetts law. And then they wanted to like close the loophole. They wanted to change it, and that failed miserably. So luckily there's a lot of dealers now who understand like, oh, okay, we don't have to pay this like tax and jump through these hoops to get on a roster necessarily. If the company is already selling component parts, well, then this is an option. So yeah, so like Cape Gunworks has been incredible with that. They've been real leaders there. But even Goal, Gun Owners Action League, who tends to be pretty conservative, like in terms of their, like, they don't want to see people get in trouble. They want to fight the laws, but not by like risking incarceration. They fight them in the courts and fight them in the legislative halls and do all that stuff. And even they came out last year when I was up there teaching, and they said, yeah, this is legit. Like, not every dealer is going to do it. Not every dealer is going to be comfortable with it, but it is true that we can get PD10s into Massachusetts now. So Cape Gunworks or any dealer.
Yeah, Toby's a good guy. So kudos to Toby for helping that out as well. Rob over at New York Outcasts, he said that he gets mistaken for you all the time, being his name was Rob.
Look,
so he said he wishes he wouldn't. You know, some people.
If that dude comes up and asks you for the money, just tell him no. He has his money. That wasn't us.
That wasn't us. Yeah,
wasn't us.
Yeah, he just says people want different things and options are a good thing. That's the whole point. Yeah. That is the whole point of the free market, is you give people options and let free market take over. Man, it's been great talking to you as well. We'll see you next week, and looking forward to giving you a hug. I like my warm hugs.
We'll do it.
If I can ever catch up to the man in the tie, you wearing your suit again?
I think, probably. My shot
show uniform. You have forever.
You're friends with Yehuda, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So he came out that book, Spot Gilly, that's like a Where's Waldo for the gun industry. I'm in there.
We need to find one for you.
I'm in there in a suit.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's like, so I think like Gilly's in there like a million times, and like Maj is in there like once per 2-page spread, and a couple other people. Ava, I think's in there. I'm in there only once, but I am wearing my shot uniform, and I have a PD10.
You know, some people wear capes, some people wear 3-piece suits. Just what it is, you know. That's what it is. My friend, thanks for coming on. I'm really happy that you're doing this. Congratulations on expanding the PD10 line. More than anything else, congratulations on all of this in the last couple of years. I know it's been a long time waiting. It's been an interesting ride over the last 6-8 years for you, but it looks like it's getting ready to not just happen, but it's taken another step. We'll have you back on after shot and talk about some other things going on with everything,
sure.
Even with the tour. Is a tour going to happen next year?
Or this year? We'll talk. Yes, we'll talk training. Let's talk training in February.
Let's do that. I'm all in on that. Absolutely.
All right,
guys, get to the range. Be more. Oh yeah, absolutely. Guys, get to the range. Be more proficient with your firearms. Make sure you're staying in tune with all two-way legislation, whether it's state, local, federal. Make sure that your elected representatives are doing their job. If not, guess what? This year's an election year. We can change that shit up and make sure that the people are going to represent your ideals and your morals. More importantly, guys, just enjoy your freedoms of being American, one of which is to keep and bear arms. We'll see you next week. Semper Fi.
Thank you.